right, so we've already done our pump gas testing. We want to make sure now where to go. And the honest truth is there's a lot of variety of fuels. What do you pick? What do you use? You know, what brand, what works the best for you, what's your application? But really the truth is, what is your end goal and how much do you want to spend? So we're not going to make this a video of fuel. We have covered fuels before in our previous videos, but with that kind of knowledge now, really, what is the end result? What does the customer want? See, I hear a lot of online things of, well, what's the best fuel to run, or what's this, what's that? Well, it doesn't come down to what anybody else's preference are. Is what do you want to pay for it? What do you want to see? Comes down to that. So, obviously, you know, the dad who's doing this wants to do this. When we were discussing the matters on this, you know, wants to see better. That way he's a little more competitive, but to stay reliable. This machine's going to be doing woods. So really, would MR12 be a good choice? Can be for the performance. MR12 makes really good power, but can that also be a detriment to the engine longevity? Can be, you know, especially being an air-cooled motor, even though it has some cooling upgrades with oil cooling. U44 would be a little safer. I would err to that, to be honest. Again, there's no problem with none of these fuels, but the long-term effects. Should we use something like C12? There's no oxygenation in C12. It has a very strong, a lot of density. And that's not a bad thing either in a high octane. Should we use like 110? Which we don't have up here, but you guys know what I'm talking about. T4, T2, there's so many different varieties. Or something like C9. More realistically, looking at our pump gas data actually showed really good. This thing was running pretty healthy, so we kind of want to stick near pump gas terms, right? So maybe a little higher octane to help cool the engine a little bit. Excuse me. And maybe staying away from oxygenated fuels for longevity. Again, can we make more power? Yes, that's not an issue, not a problem. Ultimately, though, it comes down to, can the rider use it? And also, too, dad wants to see longevity. Can the rider use it? I'm very confident the rider can use it, but maybe starting with some baby steps and progressing. That's also a thing there too. You can change that by what you put in. So at this point, realistically, C9 would be a better choice. C9 is, all right, octane 97 tops. So the average, unusual, be a VP site. So this is supposed to be a pump gas replacement. So what are the benefactors? No ethanol, right? Is chemically designed to run at higher temperatures if that's required. It's Florida. It's hot over here. I promise you. I was just in Tennessee a week ago. It is hotter than hot over here compared to over there. I can work outside all day in Tennessee, and over here it's bad. It's really bad. You can't be outside all day. You'll die. Just the humidity and all the above. We've been having 110 plus weather, overall 104, 110 when it's a high heat index or high UV rating. Okay, fine, whatever, all the above. Just what it is for a tropical climate. So we know the fuel can take the heat when the motor is hitting it at the bottom of the tank. Our fuel's rated for that. Right? And also, too, it's not too high on octane. That means that we're not going to have to really do too much carburetor work, right? So if we go too high on octane, we need to lean the engine down. We need to lean the carburetor down because now we're putting too much. So we don't want to ring wash the engine either. All the above. So again, yes, can we get more power out of it? Of course. But let's give it a try. Let's see what we get. We want to err on the safe side. We've already gotten a huge advantage already. Will it make more power? Maybe not. It might even go down a little bit. But could it smooth out the power curve? That's possible. Could the torque go up? Possibly. Don't know. We got to try it. So let's start with this. If that looks satisfactory, not a problem. We got to get readings to know what's going on there. But getting good results, good readings, which I was actually pretty happy with the pump gas. But again, pump gas can vary, from station to station. Or if there's water, so if you're water testing it, using a hydrometer, that's pretty, tough. Do I do it? No. I mean, can I do it? Yes. But do I do it every time? Absolutely not. Like for my kids' 90s, because they're stock, absolutely not. And actually, I've seen, especially like for some of my kids' 90s, if they've been sitting too long, yes, if you switch into race gas to be better, yes. It's more expensive, yeah. But then I have to deal with the carburetor issues. Do I run pump gas? I can, but I usually stick with race gas because the cleanliness of it. It's better on your whole fuel system, everything, and that way I can just turn key and go, and I'm not worried about it. When I get out there, when I go ride once or twice, or maybe longer a month, or whatever it might be. I think now we're going like to 2 months, so been busy. All good. Let's give it a try. We'll crack that can open. Let's see what we got. Got ourselves our apparatus here. Genius idea. Are there other ideas? Yeah. Well, so showing everybody we are opening a fresh can of C9. Obviously still has the seal, right? It's just not as high of octane as 110. So let's err on the, that's why they have different fuel chemistries. This is supposed to be a straight, or not supposed to be, it is a straight replacement for pump gas. So benefactors, like I said, I don't see this, I don't expect to see more power, but clean, cooler running, and healthier on the engine in the long run. So makes sense. A lot has been done to this machine, and yeah, you want to take care of it. And that's a great thing. There's nothing wrong with that. And of course, always whatever is also too readily available to you. And customer says he could get this locally to him as well. So good deal. I'll lose my cap here. Actually, this little hose adapter is actually from VP, believe it or not. And a nice purple fuel. Let's get half a gallon to a gallon in there. And I made sure this thing was drained, every molecule. So, all right. And we're pretty much full. But yes, made sure every molecule is out of here, drained, all the above. So, I want to start off with a completely fresh can, and let's see what we got. Fresh fuel in there. And yeah, we'll see how she does. Fuel smells great. So the gas tank's loose. So I'll put this in my pocket. We'll lose it. All good. All right. We'll get to warming it back up and get it rolling. Okay. So definitely our fuel is sounding pretty good there. Actually, we did raise the idle just a hair. Obviously, the motor seems to be liking it. Running wise, isn't too hot. It already feels warming up good, so it looks like we're ready to go. Get some air to this guy. Okay. A bit more air. Oh, that was on me. There we go. More idle. Hey, she likes that. We'll see. Okay. All right. So, red showing our last pass. Blue was the second pass, and green was the initial best that we had on a pump gas. So right away, going to just switching fuel. Jumped up to 9.44 horsepower, max horsepower, and 6.4 torque. Is it a major improvement over pump gas? Not majorly, but will it help? Absolutely. So that's great. That's what we want to see. We don't want it to be a humongous gain where it's going to be a problem for the engine. That's not what we're looking for. But yes, we're paying a little more money. If Dad there's paying more money for it, does he want us a little more performance? Fantastic. That came out better, looks better, a little more power to it. It felt snappier right off the get-go. That was great. So fantastic. So yes, the motor will run cooler. It will run healthier for longer. All seems well. Just like the pump gas, I was able to push to the rev limiter easily, where the pump gas with the engine modifications versus completely stock, we cannot make it to the rev limiter. In fact, it was dying out so bad, it was just, there's no point. As you can see here, it was just dying. Where the new race gas, get my finger out of the way, I'm sorry. The new race gas, we can see I actually picked up on power again and held better at the end. Again, this just being a single cylinder, air cooled engine. we're not expecting to see gigantic leaps and bounds. Very incredible for a 90. And the dyno tells you a lot of tools there. Let's see our engine speed. There we go. We're all the way to past 11K. There is no pink wire modification because there's no need to, because we're already running out of power. So those of you that do the pink wire mod, yeah, it works. It does extend the RPMs, but you're falling out so much in RPMs, or falling out so much in power with the higher RPMs, excuse me. Is it really necessary? No, you should be shifting, you know, at that 10 and a half, even with the stock setup. In fact, really on stock setup, you're shifting more like at, you know, 85 to 9, because you're starting to fall out way back. So now looking back at our air to fuel, my boat, just doing a little studying here. Our air to fuel W stock is, this is the green stock. That is completely wrong. We don't like that. In fact, just to make life a little easier, let's take the horsepower curve off. We know that the race gas may more power. I understand that, but super lean, horrendous, stock, poopy. We're just gonna go with that. Simple as that. We have ourselves a little lean spot here. We want to try and bring this back down a little bit, this line. Is that impossible on carbureted? No. It is a lot harder to track appropriately or really good with carbureted compared to EFI. EFI is a lot more precise. Not impossible though. Carbureted always is a little wavy in the AFRs, but we want to see, you know, coming down a little more. That is a little high, you know, getting in the high 14s. But the fuel can handle that though too. So that's the difference, because carburetor, we have sometimes variables, temperature, humidity, all the above. Well, this is pretty rough here. So if we could see 14 and under, I would like that. Don't get me wrong, this is still going to be a good clean burn, but also again with the right fuel, you know we're going to have good results. All the above. So we could be a little richer up top, and that would help. That might help a little bit of that waviness where the engine is showing a little bit of laboring. All the above. But we'll do the best we can. Want to see better results, but we know the fuel can handle going a little bit on the lean side without overly damaging the engine. Now, if the rider sits here all the time at this RPM point, it's gonna be a problem. But knowing what the rider rides, he rides mainly down here. So this is still looking really good. All the above. And this is again on a wide open pass. We do some more testing, you know, when we're just cruising, when we're, you know, half throttling, all the above. We want to make sure it's a good round figure. But this is great, fantastic. This is a great start. Now I have something to work with. All right. Did a couple adjustments there. See what we get, right? All we can do is try. Small adjustments go a long ways. Sounds good. That for a 90, right? Feels torquey. This little thing's ready to rip. All right, take a look at what we got. All right, so we're back. We just did our next pass there for pump gas. Did a couple little adjustments based on what I know. We'll take off this one here. That's the stock. Let's just make a little room so it's a little easier to start comprehending, right? Okay, so going back, this is our first pass with pump gas with the new motor setup. This is our just going straight to race gas, and this is our last, our red one. Okay, so what do we see here? Trying to learn some stuff, right? Red being this, the next one we just made. Okay, it doesn't make as much as the previous pass number 5. It is a little bit less. It kind of falls along with the initial of pump gas, but it keeps on rising much better. Realistically, just that little difference, you're not going to notice that. So the difference is 1/10 of a horsepower. So 9.63 to 9.43, less than a 1/10. But that is a smoother pass. Means the engine's not laboring. Also, to that big old void that we had here, I didn't feel it on the dyno. And sure enough, the results tell me that. We didn't have that big old void here. So that's a nice thing. And even better, our torque, where that void is, same void, our torque, there's the void, right? Where it means we fall out and then it kind of catches itself again. It's nice and smooth. That's a better graph. Yes. Does it make more power? No. But yes, is that better? Yeah, not a problem. Doesn't make more power, but that's a smoother, happier curve. That's what we want. We want smoother, happier, so making more than pump gas, not at its max, because remember, leaner is meaner, but then if we're running the engine hot, what do we have? Problems. So I'd rather see a healthy, safe engine. Can we get more power out of it? Yeah, we can. We just seen that. If we add different fuels or whatever, or if we want to do other things, or many other things. Many other things we could do if we want to see 10, maybe 11 horsepower, possibly. That is harder to get out of a smaller engine. But I don't see it to be too impossible to see 10 horsepower out of this thing. That is still a happy medium. That's a much happier medium, a smoother curve, and that engine will last longer. That's what the customer wants. I want to see. I want to see him make it from start to finish every time. Not an issue. Turnkey, go and have a good time. Right? That's a big deal to that. So that's more important than just a tenth of a horsepower. So definitely a good conclusion. Like in the results, like that gap not being there. So I like seeing the voids, taken away, and we have a smoother pass. All the above. That's said until you get on the dyno, until you know what's happening. Smoother, healthier engine is going to run for longer. It's going to have the endurance to finish the races, and it's only going to get hotter and tougher as this thing keeps going. Of course, end the season, we got plenty of hot days coming up, so not a problem. All the above, we want to make sure everything's good. As much as I love building everyone's motors to see the maximum power, I also want to see them work as good as possible. So, because you can make all the power in the world, you can make all that, but will it last? So, refinements, all the above. I have passes here of, 60 plus, 65, 66, 68s, no problem on a 450. Did it last? Absolutely not. but it makes it. But also to getting that to where it's smoother, it's happier, all the above. That right there should last a lot longer, be happier, and that way the son can perform well. He can focus on his riding, racing. Dad can be doing exactly what dad needs to be doing. Get him there. We put all the fluids that we need to. Good to go. Turnkey, go. And now it just comes down to him holding the throttle. But that is already a substantial, amount difference from what the stock was. So fantastic. We almost doubled stock horsepower. Pretty good. Pretty close to that. So, but there you have it. So, and this is a good start. If they want to see a little bit more later, we could do more later. Great initial start. This is a great platform. Fantastic. This is a lot also too for the rider to learn all this new features. So no need to blast them away like using a fire hose, to water a plant. Nice and easy. Let him get used to it. If he needs more, then him and his dad can talk about it and go from there. So glad you guys are watching. We want to do our best to inform, teach, educate as best as we can. That way there's a better understanding of why, what, how things are done. And maybe for those of you watching, thought about maybe saying, well, I still want to see the better numbers. What's the benefactors having less? And let me show you what the better benefactors to that. Remember, this tool that we're standing on, this dynamometer, is a tool. It's a specialized piece of equipment to learn, like an EKG. Anyone who knows how that works, very much the same. So, we're going to do a couple different parameters. So I want to show you guys, like the tires haven't changed, the gear ratio hasn't changed, all that. They all make the same top speed, right? Just right under 44 miles per hour. So they're in the 43 in some. That's much higher than stock because we can hit the rev limiter. But really, how fast does the engine get from point A to point B? Right? We're talking about time, right? Where does the engine make that power? Yes, if this makes more power, this a little bit less, but is this faster? Great question, right? Always a great question. Watch the time. So the pump gas and initial race gas was just right under 10 seconds. Making some adjustments, right? Using the old noggin there, know how to read the tools. We've brought that under 9. We're actually almost a second faster, actually a second, 1.1 seconds faster to the rev limiter than initially. And I could tell that right off the rip. Same gearing, because I didn't use third gear, because you saw the top speed, right? So we know that. And also too, now understanding our graph, this engine, yes, it makes a little less power, but it gets to the maximum power faster. It gets there, it has more initial available power right off the rip, and it'll hold it and it'll get to the rev limiter faster. That means that this engine is performing much better now than what it was previously. It was great, it was much better than stock by far, than the stock carburetor, and then much better with just putting on parts, and then much better than just dumping in race gas. But now after tuning, key element there, tuning, it's happier, healthy, it runs better, it's not straining. So now it's just going to come down to the rider getting used to it. Can we make more power? Yes. But at these figures, will that necessarily help him? I think this is pretty good already. It just comes down to him having the grit to make sure he does what he needs to do. Get a good start, get out there, make pass where he has to, hold good lines, take good line choices, and keep riding and having fun. That's the important part. So thanks again for watching, everybody. I hope this helps out. We want to help with, again, with the education part of it as well, to give you all some knowledge, all the above. So, there's a lot more than just the big numbers and all that stuff, or my friend saw this and it's written down on a piece of paper. But whatever. The dyno graph, that's a much bigger thing. What our temperatures are. Like right now, it's literally 94 degrees in here and 65% humidity. So that's pretty warm. So this is producing pretty good. So when it's out there in the open, it should even do maybe a little better, or at least be more efficient. There you go. Thanks for watching again. As always, I hope this helps out. Please, if you like it, of course, like and subscribe. And we'll try to keep on bringing out some great content. Thanks for watching, as always, everybody.